Welcome and hello. This is a video lesson in Python for Water Resources titled Loops. In this video, we're going to be covering while loops, for loops, ranges, enumerations, list comprehension, and a few different loop control statements. Let's go ahead and get started. What I've pasted in here is our first loop example. This is a while loop using the keyword while and then storage less than 1000. So this is a stopping condition. We're going to continue this loop over and over until this condition is not true. There's a colon right here, and then on the next line we have an indent. So the loop is everything in this indent code block. So we're going to be starting the storage at 850, and then increasing the value by 25, and then printing out that value until the while condition is no longer true. All right, so I'm going to save that, and then come down here to the terminal and run that script. What we see here is storage prints out at 875, 900, 925, 950, 975, finally 1000. And then it's because at that point, 1000 is not less than 1000. This is false, and the while loop terminates. All right, next example here is a while true loop. What we're doing here is saying while true, which means this is always going to be true. However, another way to exit a while loop, such as a while true loop, is to use this break keyword. Break is one of the loop control statements that will break out of the loop regardless of anything else in the code. So we're going to import random. We're going to create a random river flow between 500 and 10,000. This is a uniform distribution. We're going to print out what that flow is, and then we're going to check if the river flow happens to be greater than 8,000, random number. Then we're going to print out flood warning, and then finally break. So there's no real telling how many different loops or times that this while loop will print out a new number. So we'll just go down here to the terminal and find out. I need to save this and then run the script. All right, so it only took 2 times, 851 and then 9876, which happens to be above 8,000. It says flood warning and the loop is ended. Let's do a couple more examples here. So let's just run it again. All right, well, this time it took a bunch of different times. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7 or 8 different trials before 9,579 was the river flow, which caused this loop to end. One more time for good measure, I'll click clear and then run it again. Okay, again, only 2 times required. Let's go ahead and talk about a for loop. This right here is your basic for loop. I'm looping through this list of flows, which I've defined here on line 2. Flows right here, this is the for loop structure. So for variable in, and then this is a list of flows, colon, and the next line, and everything else below it that's indented is part of that for loop. So flows, this is referencing the list, and then this word flow references the individual variable in the list, which we're going to print out within the loop. All right, so let's go down here to the terminal, clear, and run. We're printing out each different list item, which is a flow rate in CFS. Another option for the for loop is to use enumeration. This enumerate keyword right here is going to loop through the flows list. So we have the flow variable as before, but now we have this first variable here, which is day. That's just what we're calling it, but it's serving as the index for that particular loop. So it's going to start at 0 and then 1 and then 2 and so on. I'm going to print out the day number and the flow as an example, similar to the last time, but this time it's going to, include the day value. So boom, day 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here is the flow rate as before. Now what we may want to do is start the date numbering at day 1. So there's a couple things we could do here. We just say +1 right here and then save. Let's run that again. Clear and run. Now it starts at day 1, so it goes from day 1 through 5. Or another thing we could do here instead is, let me remove that +1. Within enumerate, a different parameter here, I could say start equals 1 and then save that. Let's come down here, clear it, and run. Right, so same result, day 1 through day 5. We've already seen that break keyword. We can use that within a for loop as well. So what we're doing here is we have a list of flows, and then after that we're going to loop through those flows. Nothing new so far. If any of those flows happen to be above 5,000, we're going to print flood detected and then the keyword break. Now at the time, it looks like the third flow is above 5,000, so it's going to be printing out the first 3 different flows and then flood detected and then break. It's not going to print out any of the other flow values in our flows list. All right, so let's clear that and run it. Boom. Here we have our 3 different flows. This one happens to be above 5,000, so it prints out flood detected and terminates the for loop. Next up, we're going to add a else clause to the for loop. This isn't as common as some of the other examples, but what we have here is a list of different stage values, and then we're looping through the stages, and we're printing out the stage value. If the stage happens to be above 145, which is the case, it's actually our second stage value, we're going to print out flooding occurs and then break. And if break does not occur, then this else clause will be invoked, and we're going to print out no flooding detected. So the first time it should say flooding occurs and not print out no flooding detected because the break was invoked. Let's do that and then demo the opposite case. So saved it and then run. All right, stage 145.5 is the last stage printed out. It says flooding occurs. I'm going to change this stage down to 144.5. Now none of the stages exceed 145. So it's saved, clear, and boom, all the stages are printed out. No flooding detected has been printed out because break was not invoked within the for loop, and this particular print statement occurs underneath the else block. Another loop control statement is continue. So let me get an example of continue. It's right here. What continue does is it doesn't break out of the loop, but what it will do is immediately start the next iteration of the loop without continuing any of the other code after that continue statement. Right, so what we're doing here is we're looping through stage data. Here are the values. And then what I'm going to do is print out the stage values unless the stage value is negative 9999, in which case I'm going to continue. It's not going to print that particular value. It's just going to start the next iteration of that particular loop. All right, so negative 9999, for instance, may be the default value for bad data, or maybe the sensor wasn't measuring correctly. So let's just go and make sure that that works right there. Run. All right, so we have the 3 different stage values printed out down here, but we're not printing out negative 9999 value. Another loop control statement is pass. We're using pass in this example right here. We'll scroll down to where it's being used. So pass, pass, and pass. So let's explain it from the top. I have a list of different reservoir modes, which is normal, flood control, drought, emergency, and maintenance. I'm going to be looping through those using a standard for loop. And then if that particular mode comes up, it's going to print for normal, print something for flood control. But if the mode happens to be drought, emergency, and maintenance, it's just going to pass, meaning it's going to do nothing, and it won't print anything out. So let's go ahead and save that and then run it. Okay, so what we see here is it prints out a message for normal, a separate message for flood control, but no message for drought, emergency, or maintenance. Now you may be wondering, why do we even need the word pass at all? Why can't we just do nothing? Well, Python actually requires some code here. Let's see what my note said is that we're going to be using pass inside a loop because Python requires an indented code block after certain statements, such as after an if statement or after an elif statement right here. If I went ahead and commented out that pass and then tried to run the same code, we're going to get this message that tells us that there's a problem there. So let's put that back and save and then clear and run again. Next, let's talk about range. So this is another for loop example. I'm going to say for station in range n. Now we can use any value for station. This is a variable we're making up, and we're just printing out the value to the terminal here. This is going to count from 0 up to 9. If we wanted to count from 0 up to 10, we could just change this to an 11. But let's just stick with the original value right there. I'm going to save that. Okay, I cleared the terminal, and let's run that script. Right, so we're counting from 0 all the way up to 9. If I wanted it to count up to 10, I could just go station +1, save, and then run that, clear, and run. Right now it printed from 1 up to 10. Within this range function, if I wanted to add a second parameter, if I wanted to specify a minimum and a maximum, I didn't want to just start at 0 every time. Say I wanted to count up by 1 from 100 to 109. I could just do 100 comma 110 like that. Save. Here, clear, and run. All right, so we have 100 all the way up to 110. Oh, that's right, 101 up to 110. I still had this plus 1, excuse me. And if I wanted to not step up by 1, rather step up by more than 1, let's go ahead and loop from about 100 to 200, and then we're going to be increasing by 10. Let me remove this plus 1 within the print statement. All right, so this is going to actually count from, we should probably update my comment as well, from 100 up to 190. All right, so let's go ahead and test that out. Down here, I'm going to clear and run. It counted from 100 up to 190. If I wanted it to count all the way up to 200, I could actually just increase the max to 201 instead of 200. Save that, clear, and run. All right, so that counted from 100 all the way up to 200, and the step was 10 instead of just 1. We got 2 more examples here. Now what we're going to be doing is printing out a for loop within a for loop. So what we have is a list here of rainfall values. This is a 2-dimensional list. So within the rainfall list, we have 3 different items. There is gauge 1, comma, gauge 2, comma, gauge 3. Then within each item here, each gauge, that itself is a list which contains 4 separate rainfall depths. So let's scroll down here. This outer loop here is going to loop through the number of items in the rainfall list. So length is the number of items in the rainfall list. That number is 3. So using this range function, it's going to, the value of gauge, which we're defining right here, is going to be 0 and then 1 and then 2. After that, we're going to print out the gauge number, but we're adding 1. So instead of 0, 1, 2, it's going to print out gauge 1, gauge 2, gauge 3. And then within each gauge, it's going to have this inner loop where we are looping through the number of values for that particular gauge. Day is the variable. It's going to start at 0, but we're adding 1 again. So we're going to print it out starting at day 1, 2, 3, and 4, even though day itself, the value is going to be 0, 1, 2, and 3. This right here is the actual rainfall value, like 0.20, 0.30, because it is referencing the rainfall list. Gauge is the first dimension, the first index, and then day is the second index. And it looks like the units are here in inches. All right, so let's save that. Come down here to the terminal and run it. I'm going to scroll to the top. Gauge 1, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, with the values and the units. If I scroll down, we have gauge 2 with a similar format and gauge 3 with its 4 days of rainfall data. All right, we got one final example. This is called list comprehension. What it does is it converts this flow rate list from CFS to a new list in cubic meters per second. So we have 100, 200, and 300. And then what this makes looks a little bit compact and maybe a little bit goofy, but what it does is we're basically looping through that first list, flows underscore CFS. And then we are defining each item with this variable flow underscore CFS. And then we're populating this new list, flows underscore CMS, which is going to be the value flow CFS times a conversion factor of 0.0283. Finally, on line 4 here, we're printing out our newly created flows underscore CMS list. So let's go ahead and demonstrate how that works. Boom, here is a list of flow rates in cubic meters per second, which was all converted from a single line, which is called list comprehension. All right, well, that's it for this lesson where we talked about loops in Python for water resources. We talked about for loops and while loops, various flow control statements, and how you may use these loops in Python for water resources applications.